Alright, so we are in Matthew chapter 21. And it says here, let's start with verse 16. And they said to him, as a result of the healing and whatnot, "Do you hear what these are saying?" And Jesus said to them, "Yes, have you never read, out of the mouths of infants and nursing babies, you've prepared praise." And leaving them, he went out of the city to Bethany and lodged there. Now, Mark and Luke provide a little bit more meat on this passage, but I actually like the mystery that Matthew provides because he just drops something and then leaves that appears to be cryptic. Now, what he's saying is, those who are saying Hosanna to the Son of David, who are children crying out in the temple, disturbing the worship service, not doing things decently and in order, as men count decently and in order. They're crying out, salvation. The Lord is saying, salvation. The Lord is using them, ordained strength, salvation. Out of your mouths, the things that help as children, the things that help us. There's strength that can flow out of your mouth. Now, granted, we have spent times, and at times we've robbed you of your capacity to speak, for which we are sorry and remorseful. But there is strength in your mouths. Whether or not you consider yourselves to have strength in your mouths. And the strength, when it comes out of your mouths, comes in the fashion of speaking of the salvation of the King. And that strength can be a defense for me and Mom. We need the strength from your mouths. Which also means we might end up having to figure out how to make room for you to speak in your strength. I don't know what that looks like. I'm sure Father does, as far as our family is concerned. And with his guidance and instruction, we'll figure that one out. In the morning, as he was returning to the city, he became hungry. Seeing a fig tree by the wayside, he went to it and found nothing on it, but only leaves. This is strength from his mouth that is about to come. And he said to it, "May no fruit ever come from you again." And the fig tree withered at once, immediately, suddenly. Another account says they went back to it the following day, and it had withered. Our responsibility is to manifest and steward the words that come out of our mouth, so that when the right words come out of our mouth, they'll come out of our mouth with the due strength. Me not waste my words castigating my children, or my wife, or my dogs, or my cats, or my house, or my land, or. Rather using my words in such a way than stewarding them and managing them in such a way, because they are resources and wealth, that when I speak and when I expend my earned authority is increased. Pam, you have something to say?
No, I agree with you though. I guess the scripture that popped into my head was, where there are many words, sin is not absent. When there starts to be a tirade of words strung together, the likelihood is we're doing the wrong thing.
The words are many, sin is near. Would you mind looking that passage up and giving me an address?
Sure.
Even if you just Google the phrase. I am curious But remember earlier he was talking about setting a child before them, and he said, such is the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these. Again, he's talking about the children here. So the theme of children in the Gospel of Matthew, resources that we don't normally think about. You know, it brings strength and not weakness. Go ahead, Pam, what is it?
Proverbs 10:19.
Proverbs 10:19. Do you want to read it?
Sure, but I've got a number of versions here, so I want to see.
Yes. Go here.
They all feel different.
Voila.
All right, so wait, as ESV.
Mm-hmm.
When words are many, transgression is not lacking, but whoever restrains his lip is prudent or wise. And we've got a couple cross references here: Psalm 15:3, Psalm 101:5, Proverbs 26:24.
Psalm 15:3.
Stop trying to make me laugh.
Proverbs 26:24.
Psalm 15:3.
Proverbs 26:24. Whoever hates and disguises himself with his lips and harbors deceit in his heart. Interesting. Okay.
Proverbs 15:3. Whoever who does not slander with his tongue, who does not harm his friend or discredit his neighbor, who despises the Lord. So the one who lives blamelessly, verse 2, practices righteousness and acknowledges truth in his heart. The one who does not slander his tongue or does harm to his friend or discredit his neighbor, that's the one who can dwell in his tent, in his tabernacle, and dwell on his holy mountain. So, context for that Proverbs passage. When we're dealing with the words that come out of our mouth, corrective words that speak correction are not the words he's talking about. In context, we're talking about slanderous accusations, things that are false. That's what weakens. Kids often, when they learn how to cut, they learn from other people that are adults.
It's true.
By nature, they're willing, usually, to speak in a childlike fashion of encouragement. Yes, you can do this. You got this.
Right. Cut here, in context, I believe he's saying words that are cutting people down, words that are hurtful, words that are sarcastic or slanderous or damaging, not just physically cutting yourself.
Yeah. We have enough lack of trust that flows throughout us that we can't afford that. Our responsibility is to our mouths. Corrective words can build up the kingdom of heaven. They can rightly edify. Cutting words, words that are false, will immediately cause it to crumple and disintegrate. And if I try to build something on the foundation of words that, damage, then I will build on something that's weak and eventually it will crumble. Now, correcting words that tear down a badly built wall so we can get to the foundation, provided wisdom is present, those can be useful, but they have to be measured out. And they have to be in keeping with the depth of the relationship.
The hard balance there is, especially if you're addressing someone and a behavior, is to address someone or address the behavior and not tear down their spirit or tear down their view of their self-worth,
Their fabric and identity.
value. Right, which is why I personally have a really hard time with name calling. Even to say, that's stupid. Someone can hear that and say, "Oh, I'm stupid," and obviously it's worth if someone says you're stupid, versus that behavior is stupid. But if the person's going to take that in, and especially someone who's already wounded, and bring it in and say I'm stupid, and the enemy hops on that, hijacks it, and says, "Yes, you are stupid, and yes, this person in authority over you, or your best friend, or this person you look up to, or your parent, are your teacher or whatever thinks you're stupid, therefore you are, because the enemy does hijack. You guys all know the sound of the enemy inside of you that says you are stupid, you are worthless, you're not a hard worker, you have nothing to contribute, you have no future. These are all lies of the enemy, and unfortunately people around us saying things that are hurtful give the enemy more of that platform, and it's really important that we're careful for the words that come out of our mouths. And stupid and idiot and moron and retard and all kinds of other strings of names, lazy and slouch and whatever, don't benefit. They don't build up. They tear down. Now, occasionally there's a behavior that needs to be teared down, but my opinion, and this is just my opinion, there are ways to deal with the behavior in a way that brings edification and not destruction, and not more pain and not more wounding. So there's a challenge there.
Yeah. There are times when we'll get to a point where we've had it with certain behaviors, and we're going to say, hey, your behavior is lazy. Or, go to the ant, thou sluggard. You sloth, go to the ant, take a look. What does the ant do? He and there are times when we're going to need the industry, if you consider the bees and the trees. We're going to need the industry of our children to ramp up. Which means we're going to need our children to have done the work and the exercise necessary to cultivate bodies that can handle the weight and the work. And it's not unreasonable for us to make the expectations that our bodies are in reasonable health. Which means the current clowns that are attacking the knees and the elbows and everything else and the shoulders, we've got to deal with those things. Because we have to get y'all in sync. Because the proper design is for y'all to grow into a place of strength, not into a place of perpetual weakness.
It is not reasonable for us to never bring a correction, or we're not being good parents. The Lord brings correction to us. We have to bring correction to you guys. There are people in our lives that bring correction to us. The Scripture brings correction to all of us. But the manner of bringing that correction, I think we all need to work on a little bit. Even if you guys are exhorting each other to do the right thing, a lot of times Isaac will help Emmaus and say something so that Emmaus doesn't get in trouble. He's really trying to help his brother, but the delivery is not received so well by Emmaus. And sometimes Isaac goes a little overboard being fathering. But his heart is, I don't want to see my brother get in trouble. And his heart is, let's just, kind of work together through this thing. It just doesn't always land that way. Not sure why that's creating darkness in you. I'm not calling you out badly. Okay. So it is wise for us to measure our words and to be careful what we say and the spirit with which we say it. This is a little more soulish. This is something I learned in a soft skills class. That when you're bringing a correction to someone, the way we receive it best is to bring it with positive, bring the correction, and end with a couple of positives. So think about that. There's a measure of. So I'm not using a real life example. I'm using a hypothetical example. We spent 2 days doing a lot of work on the garage, and we all worked hard and we did a really good job. But let's say one person wasn't carrying the load. So if I said, hey, really glad we're all working together. Positive. It looks like you're being very distracted by the dogs. And I need you to refocus a little bit. That's the correction. And go, hey, I love you very much, and we're going to get through this together and have a good day. So I'm kind of curbing my correction with some positive. Do I do this on a consistent basis? I do it pretty well. Do I do it all the time? Absolutely not. I am not perfect. I don't proclaim to be perfect.
And this is where you have done well thus far, so let's
Yeah.
get back on track.
Right. So it's okay.
No, you're good.
It's just there's a real value in our words. There's a real value in the amount of words that we speak, and there's a real value in being careful that our lips are prudent, that we're not just spewing words and allowing transgression to come in.
Sometimes your words need to be steel, sometimes they need to be iron, sometimes they need to be copper, sometimes they need to be silver, gold, titanium, tungsten, whatever is necessary. What do we know about tungsten that is critical in technological history?
It needs something to light
What was tungsten used for?
the filament in a light bulb.
Bingo.
It has to be heated.
Yes. Sometimes our words need to be in accordance with a particular material. Sometimes our words need to be carbon, sometimes they need to be hydrogen.
It's true. And there's times when we need to be mothering, and there's times when we need to be fathering. And that looks very different.
Yeah. So
And both are critical.
recognize the value of your words and use them appropriately and accordingly. Sometimes they need to be aluminium.
It's aluminum.
Aluminum.
Yeah, what is...
Tinfoil, lightness. So one of the things that about aluminum is it has one of the highest weight to strength ratios of all the metals.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So when you think about using it in cooking or there's a lot of aluminum that's used in street signposts because it's light. It's like a speed limit sign or a street post or whatnot. A lot of those posts are made out of aluminum for that specific purpose because it's light, but it's durable.
That's good.
So if you run into it, it wouldn't cause as much damage to your car as if you ran into something that was made of iron or steel.
And probably less expensive to manufacture.
Correct.
So it's a better use of resource.
Yeah. And bauxite, which is the ore from which aluminum is primarily derived, Brazil in this case, has got a huge bauxite production, huge aluminum production. Is one of the most prolific elements in all of the world.
Fascinating. I didn't know that.
So, gang, we bless you to temper your words accordingly, that they will be the element that the Lord wants them to be, that they'll be life-giving in season, out of season, and that you will be skillful in diversifying your words and know the value of your words. Mm-hmm. Especially the three of you that are here as my children. Hopefully I am doing the right thing on a regular and consistent basis. And I'm not handing you uranium or plutonium when you need aluminum or diamond. So, I bless you guys with peace and understanding and revelation and depth and dynamic as you hear and speak the words that are in due season and